Thank you all for listening and watching my videos. Please subscribe and like my channel Master Coolits. Hoping that you will not skip my ads, it's a big help for me by not skipping it. Thank you so much. Dragon Shadow. The Rise.
In the bustling square of the Star Kingdom, challenges were a common spectacle. Students strived for higher rankings before the preliminary exams, and skirmishes erupted frequently, much to the amusement of the onlookers. Today, however, the tension was palpable, drawing even more attention as two figures stood face to face, the air crackling with anticipation. Martin Skycloud, a well-known figure from the Xora Genius list, eyed his opponent with disdain. His voice cut through the chatter of the crowd, dripping with arrogance.
You brat, go ahead and say your last words before you die. Otherwise, there won't be any more chances.
Zane Martel, unfazed by the venom in Martin Skycloud's words, responded with a cold, steady tone that silenced the crowd.
That should be my line. You should say your last words before you die if you have any. Otherwise, you won't have a chance to say it either, within my 10 breaths.
The crowd gasped, stunned by Zane Martel's audacity. Whispers filled the air as spectators tried to place the unknown challenger. Zane Martel was not a familiar name on the Xora Genius list. In fact, no one recognized him at all.
This guy, who can't even make it to the Xora Genius list, dares to boast that he wants to kill Martin Skycloud within 10 breaths?
Is he out of his mind? Who does he think he is?
I've never seen this person before. He is probably from a low-level kingdom.
The crowd dismissed Zane Martel as a nobody from a lesser kingdom, failing to see the resolve in his eyes. They scoffed at his bold claims, their voices tinged with scorn.
There are no geniuses in a low-level kingdom. He is probably the most powerful genius in his kingdom. However, this is the Star Kingdom. How can his strength compare to that of a Star Kingdom genius?
Martin Skycloud's face twisted with fury. He was done with words. With a roar, he lunged at Zane Martel, his power of water manifesting in the air. Water droplets condensed rapidly, forming a small lake in midair. Martin Skycloud's hand held a fist-sized water droplet, its oppressive force evident.
Divine water splitting.
He hurled the droplet, which transformed into a long spear, hurtling toward Zane Martel with deadly intent. Zane Martel's eyes lit up with interest. This was no ordinary attack. He tightened his fist, and a lightning momentum erupted from his arm, golden bolts crackling around him. With a swift, powerful punch, Zane Martel met the spear head-on. The spear shattered upon impact, dispersing into a harmless drizzle. The crowd was left in stunned silence, their disbelief turning to awe. Zane Martel smiled faintly. After fighting with Martin Skycloud, he had a clear understanding of his own strength.
Is this the strength of the 70th place on the Xora Genius list? I don't think so.
Martin Skycloud's expression changed. His power of water was at its peak. He had almost reached his limit. However, Zane Martel was able to block his attack so easily. His gaze turned dark.
How dare you insult me in public? I want you dead now. Mark with sword line, heavy water divine sword, kill.
Martin Skycloud made a grasping motion with his 10 fingers, and 10 sword radiances gathered on his fingertips, like arrows leaving the string, breaking through the air. The speed of the 10 sword radiances was so fast that the onlookers exclaimed,
Did you see that?
It's too fast. I can't see it clearly at all.
However, with the help of Zane Martel's third eye, he could clearly see his opponent's attack.
Power of thunder.
Zane Martel shouted, and the thunderbolts on his body exploded. The terrifying sky thunder of the Dark Domain collided with the sword energy. The unstoppable sword energy was torn apart by the thunderbolts like paper scraps. It didn't even slow down and landed heavily on Martin Skycloud's body, leaving behind several bloody pits the size of a finger. Martin Skycloud screamed and stumbled. He almost fell from the sky, looking extremely embarrassed. His expression was extremely solemn. He looked at Zane Martel with resentment, and his body trembled. The heavy water divine sword was his most powerful attack. However, it was resolved so easily by Zane Martel. He finally realized the gap between himself and Zane Martel, so he no longer had any thoughts of fighting him. Without hesitation, he turned and fled. Martin Skycloud turned into an arc of light and flew away.
You're leaving? Did you get my permission to do so?
Zane Martel's expression turned cold. His actions were swift and violent as he chased after Martin Skycloud. The power of wind, mastered to its extreme, was incredibly fast. In an instant, he caught up with Martin Skycloud.
You can't kill me. I'm a genius of the Marquis Mansion. If you kill me, my senior will hunt you down.
Then I'll kill your senior as well.
Martin Skycloud began to fear.
Save me, please. Is there anyone that can save me? Please, Julian Flynn, please save me.
Martin Skycloud shouted, and suddenly saw a young man in white in the crowd. He looked happy, as if he had caught a life-saving straw. A streak of sword energy flew up from the hands of the young man in white. The sword energy was snow-white and wide, like the Cloud9 galaxy descending to the Earth, shining brightly. Zane Martel also sent out a streak of sword energy to clash with the opponent's sword energy. In the heart of the bustling tournament arena, a palpable tension filled the air. Zane Martel's expression suddenly froze as his eyes locked onto the young man standing beside Martin Skycloud.
Are you Julian Flynn?
Julian Flynn's eyebrows were sharp as swords, his eyes piercing like blades. He radiated the powerful aura of the third level of the Mahayana realm, his vital energy surging like a tidal wave.
This guy, it's really Julian Flynn.
Zane Martel hadn't expected to meet Julian Flynn in such a dramatic fashion. Yet Julian Flynn didn't seem to recognize him. With an air of cold authority, he placed Martin Skycloud behind him.
Martin Skycloud is a friend of mine. Leave now if you value your life.
Below them, the crowd buzzed with excitement and fear.
It's Julian Flynn, ranked 50th. I can't believe he's here.
That guy from the low-level kingdom might be strong, but he's in real danger if he doesn't back down.
Zane Martel's cold laughter cut through the tension. Instead of retreating, he stepped forward, challenging them with a smirk.
Julian Flynn, don't you recognize me?
Why should I? Do you think I remember every street rat I come across?
Julian Flynn's dismissive tone only fueled Zane Martel's resolve.
What if I told you? I am Zane Martel.
Julian Flynn's expression shifted from indifference to shock.
Zane Martel? You're Zane Martel?
The name echoed in Julian Flynn's mind, a name he could never forget. It was Zane Martel who had exploited Julian Flynn's absence to launch an attack on the Godwill sect with Dark Wolf Hall. The once mighty sect was reduced to rubble, its experts slain, and even third-rate sects now bullied them with impunity.
All of this because of Zane Martel.
Julian Flynn had sworn to himself that no matter where Zane Martel fled, he would find him and exact his revenge. Their confrontation was just beginning, and the stakes had never been higher. What would happen next in this deadly clash of past grudges and powerful warriors? The willpower pressure from Julian Flynn was unleashed like a gigantic mountain looming over the entire region. The onlookers felt their heads sink, their bodies growing heavier, pain as if they were about to split apart.
What terrifying willpower. Is this the strength of the person topping the 50th place on the Zora Genius list? If the 50th is this powerful, how horrifyingly strong would the top 10 be?
Get out of the way, or you'll land yourself into trouble.
Do you think the young man can defeat Julian Flynn?
How is it possible? Although he can defeat Martin Skycloud, his true strength is probably ranked 60th on the Zora Genius list.
At most, it won't be higher than 60, but Julian Flynn, his strength is ranked 50th. Not to mention he challenged Sikong Jing, who ranked 40th, and it was an interesting fight.
Oh my god, is he so terrifyingly powerful?
Everyone cried out in surprise. Yet the seemingly heavy willpower pressure was lifted by Zane Martel's huge willpower with ease.
Julian Flynn, your tactics are useless to me. Instead, I'm curious about how powerful the power that terrifies the entire Eastern Palm and the Godwill sect is.
As early as Zane Martel was in the advanced level, Julian Flynn's name resounded like thunder in everyone's ears. He was the only young man in the entire Eastern Palm entering the Zora Genius list. A talent that the entire Godwill sect spent all their resources cultivating. Rumors had it that Julian Flynn's swordsmanship was powerful beyond imagination.
Looking forward to witnessing my power for yourself? You aren't worthy of doing so at first, but I once swore that I would kill you, so today, it's as you wish. Infinite sword skill, 8 diagram slash.
Along with a clear shout, Julian Flynn unsheathed the lengthy saber. The snow-white sword light was like stars in the ninth heaven, emitting dazzling light and overwhelming sword vigor.
This is the strength of the 50th place on the Zora Genius list. How almighty.
That person is dead meat.
Screams and exclamations from around them came non-stop. With the sky-killing sword in his hand, however, Zayn Martel unleashed ripples of the sword that stretched hundreds of meters beyond and was unfathomable as an abyss. The moment the two attacks collided, the heavens and earth rumbled, sending the air blasting in all directions. Some of the weaker ones were blown away, unable to get back to their feet. Seeing that Zayn Martel was capable of blocking his attack, Julian Flynn's expression turned gloomy. Although he had long anticipated Zayn Martel's appearance, indicated he was determined to participate in the qualifying match for the Dragon Envoy of Kangmu, he had underestimated Zayn Martel.
Zayn Martel, do you have the guts to take on another attack of mine?
Sure, but if I turn out safe and sound, do you dare do the same by taking on another of my moves?
Why wouldn't I dare?
Zayn Martel was only at the first stage of the expert level, while Julian Flynn had broken through to the third stage. Even if Zayn Martel attacked with all his might, Julian Flynn was confident he could not be hurt. As long as Zayn Martel didn't flee, Julian Flynn believed he could slaughter him with one blow.
Zayn Martel is too arrogant.
He didn't know that Zayn Martel was thinking the same thing.
Julian Flynn is so full of himself.
Julian Flynn activated a chant with both hands, his fingers moving rapidly like wheels. A faint blue sword mark appeared between his eyebrows. Suddenly, the vital energy in all directions surged, roaring like waves.
Bloodstone blade.
Booms and rumbles erupted. In the air, an illusory image of the Bloodstone blade, hundreds of meters long, condensed, emanating a powerful momentum. Witnessing the scene, Zayn Martel couldn't help scoffing.
Bloodstone blade? What a coincidence. I can do it too.
Zayn Martel imitated Julian Flynn's casting gesture. But unlike Julian Flynn's blue sword mark, the one between Zayn Martel's eyebrows was dark black. A huge suction force flared out, resembling an ancient behemoth, as it pounced forward to fight for the vital energy lingering in the air.
Can you use the Bloodstone blade as well? How is that possible? Impossible.
Julian Flynn was utterly dumbstruck. He had no idea that Zayn Martel had mastered the unique skill of the Godwill sect.
Damn it, vital energy. Get over here.
His shout was filled with frustration. The vital energy in the air was limited, sufficient to support the formation of the Bloodstone blade of a single person. But for two to condense their Bloodstone blades at the same time was a tough task.
Haha, where are you going? What a joke. Have you asked for my approval? Swallow.
A terrifying, devouring power erupted from Zayn Martel's body, instantly snatching all the vital energy from Julian Flynn's side. In merely 3 to 4 breaths, the gloomy black shadow of the Bloodstone blade took shape, descending on Julian Flynn at high speed like a meteorite.
Oh no.
Julian Flynn's face turned livid. He could only brace himself to push his half-condensed Bloodstone blade, inferior in size, up against Zayn Martel's. As the two massive swords collided, a deafening roar echoed through the sky. The violent air blast swept through, causing countless buildings to teeter on the verge of collapse. Julian Flynn tumbled mid-air, his heart a mess, his hands trembling. He was sent flying hundreds of meters backwards before stabilizing himself.
Oh my god, Julian Flynn was defeated.
And by the same martial arts technique he used. Who on earth is that young man?
I know. His name is Zayn Martel from Yarrow Kingdom.
Zayn Martel? Yarrow Kingdom? Never heard of it. Could it be a low-level kingdom?
The crowd debated among themselves, their faces deathly pale from shock.
Oh, he didn't die. It seems the strength of those on the Zora Genius list is ordinary. Well, Julian Flynn, I've accepted the challenge of one move from you. You should do the same, shouldn't you?
Zayn Martel's gaze was cold and emotionless as he looked at Julian Flynn in his miserable state. Julian Flynn's eyes darted, thousands of thoughts flashing through his mind.
How could he be so powerful? Can I withstand his attack?
He pondered, then steeled himself.
No, the previous strike was probably his strongest move. I was at a disadvantage since I was halfway through condensing my Bloodstone blade. As long as I can condense the complete Bloodstone blade this time, I'll definitely block his heaven-ranked martial arts. Maybe even finish him off.
Reassured by his thoughts, Julian Flynn spoke.
Well, a gentleman must always keep his word. Come on.
As his voice died away, Julian Flynn swiftly performed the Bloodstone blade, unleashing an insane burst of vital energy. Sword shadows rapidly formed in the sky. Zayn Martel looked up, seeing that Julian Flynn's Bloodstone blade had achieved perfection. The sword shadow was no longer fragmented, but a clear, crystal-like complete sword emitting a strong aura.
It seems that the practice of Bloodstone blade to perfection bursts with robustness and impressiveness.
The stage was set for another clash, the tension palpable in the air. What would happen next? The answer lay in the impending strike that would decide the fate of the battle.